Oh shoot, I gotta change my title. I don't want YouTube getting mad at me again. Can't we just change the title real quick, guys? There we go. All right, guys, welcome to the afternoon stream. We have some stuff developing as of right now. We have to go over for today's video. And tonight, we're going to have no YouTube video tonight, as baby girl just got back from having her just 2 shots, so that's good, but just a couple of shots there. So we're going to make sure that she's all good. She's been overly tired, making sure to monitor her just a little bit. Because last time she did get shot, she was a little bit sick. But we're here for the end of the day, looking at some Tesla at this moment. It looks like on 15 minutes we might see stuff roll over. So as we go into the SPY and the Qs, we'll notice that the SPY is violating that weekly expected move again, maybe to go create a stronger base, right? Stronger base in some way is what we're overall looking for here, unless we are going to see some price action go to the upside. All right, so the thing that we're mainly looking for are these 2-hour signals to actually go turn back up. We need these things to start turning back up. We need Tesla to start turning back up, kind of confirming anything going on here. Nvidia's a big one to pay attention to. If that confirms, we're kind of in a downward channel as of right now, and that could lead to some kind of pop if we're able to break to the upside outside of that channel. So we'll pay attention to that today towards the end of the day, but there's a lot going on. The thing I would really be paying attention to is volatility sitting at higher levels on 30-minute chart here, looking like it wants to turn up one more time. So we're paying attention. If volatility is able to cross up here, we could see that sell-off continue, and I want you to be aware of that, as something very important is happening. If this does turn up by the end of the day, well, the SPY is breaking down below that weekly expected move. We could see something more dramatic than what we're getting right now. The Qs, we could see that if it's able to break through, we could see something more dramatic. But if you were aware, the Qs were overall hitting the bottom side of its channel that it's been in for quite some time, dating all the way back to the December of 2022 lows that actually led to that upside. So you'll notice back in October of 2023, when everyone thought we were breaking down, where did we hit? Well, we hit right on that. The only difference is we had some good reversal signals here on a lot of charts. Here we don't necessarily have that, so it really depends on what's going to go on in this last hour. Are we going to roll over on some 15-minute charts to go make a stronger base, or are we going to reject and actually curl up on some 2-hour charts starting tomorrow? We'll pay attention to it, but for now, 30 minutes on a lot of charts have crossed up. We're going to pay attention to the last 30 minutes, or the last hour of the day on the 30-minute chart. So one cool thing was we came up, we reacted to that monthly expected move for August, and notice that we use it as resistance now. So that's what can happen when you do fall below these very early. You can start to use them as resistance. So right now that is saying, hey, this negative trend can continue. You need to kind of build up above that in order for it to go back to positive. All right, in order for this thing to actually get back, I wouldn't say positive, more just inside that what is expected for August. So a lot of people have a lot of questions. I totally get that. What you want to do is just make sure you're paying attention to those signals in front of you. Make sure that things are looking right, because this PCC is sitting up pretty damn high. So everyone seems to be expecting the selling to continue. And what you want to more so look for are, reversal type signals, bigger time frames starting to curl up, right? Hourlies, and you kind of just go up those time frames. We don't have a lot of data for the rest of the week. We have initial jobless claims on Thursday. So this here is something to pay attention to. The fact that we might hold that downward pressure for a few days, as we don't have a lot of data coming out. So we have to pay attention to that. We'll see what happens over the next 24 hours. Bull trap or bear trap? So as of right now, if these 15 minutes are rolling over, you could consider that some kind of bull trap. But for the most part, I think this is going to solidify itself, and we might actually see a rejection right here. We'll pay attention. The last hour of the day is very important. A ton of data coming in. Well, not data, I'm sorry, volume coming in at the end of the day. Sorry, my brain's still on baby girl's health a little bit there, but we're okay. So for the most part, just seeing if this can turn up, kind of reject that, because if this starts to confirm down, it means more downside continuation of the trend. If we go over and look at NVIDIA, as someone saying they have a 110 call 2 weeks out, well, we would just notice that NVIDIA is still holding the reversal signal here. It is still holding that potential reversal signal here. We did break down for a moment, but if we just make a quick little channel, we can notice that that's what we're in. We're in a downward channel. So if you want to get positive, you want to get back above 110, well, then you're going to have to break through this, most likely use 110 or something like that as some support to head higher. So what we want to see is by tomorrow, what really develops here. And that's the thing. Sometimes a lot of the time as a trader, you just need more price action to see what's actually going on, see if there's an actual trade setup. Is there even a trade setup for me to get into, say, a short position? I would say no. I would really like to see this get up towards that center line, kind of like we did right here, right? We saw that break down and then we go, okay, that has a good probability, but from right here, it's just not really the case. We want to see that big move. We want to see some kind of move like this that does curl down if you want to play downside. I'm not just going to pile in because everyone else is. If everyone jumps off a bridge, I'm not going to do it. Now, one thing I would like to say about this situation that is going on today is, remember a few days ago, I was calling all of this, which is what's happening now, what's happening over the past few days, is some kind of, I think, fake stock market crash. And this is just my honest opinion. I think that this is some kind of fake stock market crash to say, oh, something, and the way I explained it was my buddy was asking me about this when I wasn't live. He was messaging me, asking me, and I said, well, what would they want to do? And I said, you know, what most likely is going to happen here is, do you know in a scary movie when, you know, someone jumps out from around the corner and then it ends up being their friend or something like that, or they close the mirror and no one's there, and then immediately they're like, whew, okay, thank goodness. And then they wash their hands for a second, they look up at the mirror and there's something behind them. And then it's even more scary because you came to the point where you were the most vulnerable. And I think that point is when you're at that statement of, ooh, oh, thank goodness, nothing bad's going to happen. And then it does. Okay, so that's what I think we're going through here. I think right now we're getting a jump scare, some kind of small scare where we're almost scaring ourselves, right? The recession scares, we're scaring ourselves. And then I think that's going to actually build up over time, and maybe the SPY even in the Qs even go to an all-time high. And then everyone is kind of looking down, washing their hands. And when they look back up, boom, that's when the real scary moment happens. That's what I think is going on here. But I need that to be proven in the chart. So I'm going to need, you know, NVIDIA to help me out with that a little bit and show that this can turn up, show that there can be some kind of positive move from NVIDIA. So we'll pay attention to that, but that's just my overall input as of right now. I believe this is a reaction to people thinking we're going into recession. Anytime that's happened, usually you actually end up going higher, but that doesn't mean we don't have more work to be done. We can keep going. There's plenty of reasons to crash. We have geopolitical stuff. Someone mentioned Kamala Harris. I think there's plenty of reasons to crash. And so that as of this moment, we have to treat the scare as in it's not our friend, right? This is an actual real scare at this time. And I think that's where we're going a little bit separated there, Ignacio. I think overall, the way I'll know that this is my friend and I can have that woof moment is if this actually crosses up. This has not crossed up yet, so I still should be worried that this is an overall crash just because the volatility remains up at 35. It's above 20. So does that make sense? I'm still treating it like, hey, this is a very, 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 very bad signal, right? I want to treat it that way. I'm just saying if there is that woo, okay, I'm clear moment, I think this is to get you satisfied with upside again. And maybe they don't even go to an all-time high. Maybe it's just like, oh yeah, it's all good. And then right away we see that drop again. That's what I'm kind of thinking, trying to play through in my head. And that's what makes the most sense to me at this point. But look at that, just stair-stepping down. Not even stair-stepping, it's like hopping down a pile of rocks. That's crazy. Can we look at Len real quick? We can. Let's go check that out for a moment. Looking at this one here, you're just seeing a 2-hour by that center line. Simple swing trade here can help out, right? So a simple swing trade would be, hey, this crosses up on that MACD, gets above all those moving averages as they are grouped up, or above a 200 on the 2-hour. So do you have basing out signals here, though? Not necessarily, not yet. But just to say, all these things, like getting all of this green, is an interesting reaction. I think that's even more so than, say, catching a falling knife. One of them I was paying attention to was Meta. By the way, this one here does not necessarily have the best reversal signals. You can dip down again to create that. All right, but for now, it looks like 2-hour swing trade would be what I'm paying attention to if there's going to be any kind of upside. But one thing I was paying attention to was Meta. Meta actually climbing back all the way from 453 all the way down towards 450, able to climb all the way back up 32 points. And I think that's a big deal there. So there are people that are buying in this area. And what we want to see is the dollar going up while the stock market goes up. So if we do get some kind of prolonged bounce, is the dollar following that, telling us there is some kind of insider selling going on as well? Because I do believe that the buyers are there as of right now. And we need to pay attention to it. I just think you have some time where you could have some dead space where you could see some kind of bounce. Then we just need to see, is that a recovery, or is that some kind of, fake out saying, oh no, everything's fine, and then it drops. That's what I'm getting at, and that's what I'm talking about with the scary movie thing. If my friend popped out from around the corner, I'd jump, and then I'd be like, oh, thank God it's my friend, and then let's say right behind him was a grizzly bear. That's kind of what I'm getting at. It's like this, if this is able to turn around, this could be, oh, thank God, this is my friend, nothing to worry about here, and then I see the grizzly bear, and that drops down. Yeah, Palantir does have earnings. What are my thoughts on it? 50-50 flip. I'm always going to say that on this channel. I'm never going to sit there and try to be like, yes, this is for sure going to go to the upside. I will never say that. I will say this is a 50-50 flip. You're in a very negative environment. So if they say something bad here, especially with the sentiment that we have, that can double down on the bad look. YouTube channels this morning too. This day trade was the move to make. Yes, and that's why I just want people to keep a level head. Yes, we opened up at the lower levels, but for the most part, important signals are there, and this is overall just a 10% pullback. So you could consider it a correction at that point. It is not hitting the 15 to 20% range, which would be more bear market territory, even though it's behaving a little bit like a bear market. I still see this as an overreaction, and I just want to be clear about that. I still see it as some kind of overreaction. Now, that's not to say that it isn't a bad move. That is a terrible, terrible move, but if you're able to hold up, that would make sense. Okay, it would make sense for us to be able to build back up, but it also would make sense because so many bad things are out there that we do something like this, we see some kind of surge, and then up here we get the next bit of bad news. Okay, that's what I'm really going over in my head. And sorry, Tammy, I just don't like to comment too much on like what I exactly think if it will go up or down. Well, I'm still going to hold on to my calls for now because I have a decent amount of time until those expire. So I'm going to hold out, and then if I actually see basing out signals, what I'll do is I'll cost average those. So say on something like NVIDIA, okay, like NVIDIA. So NVIDIA actually had the 2-hour signal that I'm paying attention to. If I see on NVIDIA, you see how this thing has curled up on the 30-minute? Well, if I see another point of divergence or something like that created here, or if I see this pop up and come back down, well, then I can extend that out. I could even get out of my position, get back into it once I see that reversal signal. But for some reason, I'm still leaning towards some of this stuff V-shaping. And actually, the fact that we're just seeing these surging up, right? We're seeing these moves like this from NVIDIA. It's kind of a sign that, hey, we could be seeing some upside soon, right? 12% is nothing to joke about. I don't think that's enough. Like, I mean, just the way it looks, I'm still going to treat it the same way. Very, very bad. That's how I'm looking at this. Very, very bad. But if the 2-hour curls up, I might add a little bit to that position to then make it so it can make some more money on the way up. But I will be holding most of my positions. As you guys know, I've downsized my position for pretty much all of summer. So I've been downsizing those dramatically. So in no way did this drop really hurt my calls all that much because I take longer out expiration. And if I wanted to, I could scale in to make it better, but I just want to wait to see some more price action first. I still know that this is bad. Right now, I'm like, hey, $1,000. Do I really want to just like throw all that away, or would I like to see if this actually V-shapes and see if I'm right? Because some of the times when I get out of plays and I go against my thinking, right, my thought process of I think there are insiders buying here, it actually ends up making me kick myself in the butt the next day. So I'm going to wait and see what happens tomorrow, and then after tomorrow I most likely will make a decision. More earnings volatility, there's going to be volatility. Just regardless of whatever is happening, price action, momentum, earnings, all of it, you are going to have volatility. You are above 20, you are going to see some rip around stuff. Now you want to just see if this 30-minute is able to curl up into positive territory. That is going to be the signal for this thing maybe beating this high and making a new one. So what we want to pay attention to as well is if volatility goes and makes a lower high and the SPY actually say comes down and makes a lower low, and then those both start to reverse around, that is a signal to pay attention to. That can be a more bottoming out signal. It doesn't mean you have to go to all-time highs. It means you have the potential for a prolonged bounce, and then you'll have to see once we grab some liquidity maybe if that is able to flush one more time. So I still believe we're at a moment where it's like this is the initial scare, and then we're going to realize like, oh no, there's nothing to worry about. I think that will come, and then we'll see what happens. But I don't think it has to perform this way. Once again, right now, I'm just looking for 2 hours, and I'm seeing if those things can curl up this week. If they do, okay. If they don't, well then I'm going to say this is still crashing, right? Or this is still going down. I would more so lean towards tomorrow being more of a positive day if we're going to land back in these weekly ranges, because if you continue the selling from here this week, if you continue the selling in this drastic of a manner, right? Let's just say we drop down to the same percentage that we did from the beginning of that day, from the beginning of this day. Let's say we end in the area we're at now. Well, you're going to be way down here, 489. So to see a wick up like this to get back in that weekly is very, very unlikely at that point. You might be breaking through some key levels. So that is what I would overall say there. But if we're going to create structure to head down, that would be the area, right? We would bounce from something like this, maybe create a big head and shoulders. So I'm still looking at the signals right now and I'm like, hey, I do not hate this NVIDIA signal, right? So that's why I'm holding on. I still do not mind this NVIDIA signal. The 30-minute is what got me into that right here. Sure, that's a bummer that it played out to the downside first. I can sit and wait and look at the price action and just see if this is able to turn up. I can see if an hourly is able to turn up here as it's holding the divergence down here. So if this hourly does curl up, I might add some to the position. And another one was Tesla. Tesla coming down towards 180.92, our little line of support there. Now we're seeing, hey, what's happening? The hourly could turn up here. There is some sort of divergence forming down here. The 2 hour kind of flat on this now, kind of down on it now. So we'll pay attention to that, but I still think if this is able to curl up, get above both of these, wouldn't that be just a swing trade signal, right? You're above the 200, you get above the 9, and then you see this cross up. Hey, that's just a swing trade signal, and maybe that's able to catch it before this daily, which is right by the center line, is able to turn up, right? So this still could be pullback potential. And that's all I'm saying. This could be the correcting itself and now we're going to experience for the next few days it trying to form that base. Hey, that's perfectly fine, and you have to do what you're comfortable with. Like I said, the trades I have, I'm not adding to them. I know what money is at risk there. Most of my money is still doing pretty well actually over in TLT. So most of my bigger trade is TLT, right? That's the more larger amount put in there. So this one's still doing well, and now I have to look at that one today and be like, is that enough money for me today? Are we curling over on a daily? Are we curling up on the weekly? So I probably will hold on to this for the long run. But for the most part, I just want to see what's going on in front of me, and I'm seeing a lot of red, so I can see how that is understandably going to go down. But am I going to take a position down? No, not at this point. Am I going to take a position up? No, I'm not going to scale into those positions anymore. I know exactly how much I'm going to lose in those trades, which is perfectly fine because last week I made like over 400% on all of my trades. So I'm perfectly fine with that, and I downsized the position in case something bad happened. We talked about bad things happening over the weekend, and that's why I come down on those position sizes. In an environment like this, we saw that the VIX curl up. It never curled back down on the 30-minute till recently. That is when we have to say before a weekend, watch out, because something bad can happen, and something bad has happened. But now I more so just want to see, are these 15-minute rollovers going to be able to remain in those weekly expected moves? Technically, I've already bought into the dip. I'm waiting to see if this 15-minute even can just give me a slightly higher low. That way I can have a reason, right? I want to have a reason to take a trade. At this moment, I don't see reversal signals or anything like that. I'm just waiting to see if maybe a higher low is enough to convince me to at least add a little bit to those positions to make them a little better. That way they can make money over the next 3 weeks. How's PCC? It is high. So this is where I'm getting at it too. if we do see an upward price move, if we see an upward move, we can really short squeeze. There's been a lot of puts put into the system recently. I wonder, actually, I really wonder what even, let me do this real quick. Let's go look at this too. I know we're kind of paying attention to some. Let me look at let me go over to the Qs real quick so you guys can watch that. I just want to look what people were thinking for today and the end of the week. Looks like for the end of the week, we have a huge call strike at 550 for the SPY. A lot of calls up towards our weekly expected move at that point. And then for the Qs, whoa, 448. Where's 448? 448 is a big put wall for today. So even though, and this is kind of weird, even though the max pain is showing a ton of red down here, I just want you to notice the put call ratio is sitting at 0.9. Very interesting. So still some calls in there. Very interesting. But yeah, keeping a low, keeping a steady head about it. Flush for daddy. Oh God, that's so funny. I expect the VIX to eventually come down to normal, and the way you're going to see that is if we start to see volatility curling down on 2 hours. Once that thing curls down on a 2 hour, that's a pretty solid momentum play there. Qs, SPY, we need to see if these things are going to turn back up. SPY dipping down a little bit lower to test this low right here. We'll pay attention to it. Remember, we're outside of that weekly expected move very early on in the week. The Qs reacted up to that monthly expected move, the bottom side, use that as resistance. So we'll see if this can turn back up as well in this last 40 minutes of the day. Now, just a note, guys, I won't be able to put out a YouTube video tonight, so make sure you like this video and then tune in tomorrow morning to get those daily expected moves. And then tomorrow we might have a closing stream, but I'll definitely be putting out a YouTube video come tomorrow. I think after tomorrow we'll have enough price action to where the narrative might start to change just a little bit. Either that or this is going to continue, so we'll see. Alrighty. Everyone having a decent day. Nobody hurt too bad, hopefully. That's always good, you know, managing that risk. That's why we do smaller positions around these times. And are we seeing... Yeah, maybe the Dow is able to do some kind of double bottom to hint to us something's going on here. We're seeing the 10 and 2 start to spread out a little bit, start to invert more, actually. They almost uninverted. They were literally like a millimeter away from uninverting. IWM, what are you up to as well? These have been updated. This is the weekly expected move. We drive back above it. Now, if we can use that as support, no dramatic selling coming in for IWM. We actually could see a big move up. And one thing I was paying attention to was AMC actually curling up on the 15-minute, maybe curling down for some kind of pullback. But the big thing here is if that 2 hour is able to cross back up, get above these moving averages, you got a good shot for a solid move. We'll see if the short sellers come in and fight the stock again. GameStop, similar story, going down to the weekly expected move. You need to get above this weekly expected move in order to see that crazy upside. But for now, we'll just take a 2 hour curl up, right? They did uninvert. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. Briefly. That's scary because that's kind of what you need to know, though. It's like as you approach that uninversion, that's when the stock market goes down, and that's what we're doing right now. It's more as you get more inverted, as those yields get more and more inverted, the stock market goes up. So that's something to pay attention to. But right now you're getting uninverted, so that's why, you know, stocks are coming down. Now, if they start to invert further, that's when you can start to see some price action to the upside. Trevor's like, yeah, if we did go into recession and things got really, really cheap and Nvidia went down to $50, it'd be really unfortunate for a certain company to have $4 billion in cash or something like that. That'd be crazy. Yeah, I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world there. So for a lot of these guys, you're going to want to see these 15 minutes, they're rolling down. You want to see if it's controlled. You want to see if it can roll back up. A lot of people probably want the market to go down, but there's still a large amount of calls in the same place, which tells me maybe some big players have some calls in those areas. Around 8:45. Okay, so pretty much like early this morning, they actually did uninvert for a moment. I'll have to pull up those charts maybe. Maybe tomorrow we'll look at those. But for the most part, NVIDIA is really what I want to watch a lot, like pretty closely here. See if that can turn back on. And then Qs as well. I want to see if they can reject and curl back up here for a moment. Because you see, we're getting closer and closer to that center line now. We're getting closer. We're closer. So if this does fall down, look for that to curl up. Look for it. It might just curl up like this, fall down again. And then we get closer and closer to going positive. That's what I'm looking for. Good day to go long to play the bounce. Yeah, we'll find out. We'll be looking at these signals pretty closely. That's all we can do. The Intel grandma. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's a key thing to understand and why I like what Zaki is saying. This could take a couple more days. You have volatility very high, so you could see a 30-minute rip that then falls down to actually go get a stronger base, right? Because this could get up towards that center line, curl right back down and make some kind of divergence or make some kind of higher low, right? So we'll pay attention to those type of things going forward. But it looks like we need some price action. As far as it goes for a video I would make tonight, I think people would get confused because my mentality is, this is terrible, this is garbage, this is awful. But if that 2 hour curls up, I'm gonna think the opposite. So it's very hard to kind of talk about that with people and get a bunch of people to understand that, because they're just going to hear the first part, this is terrible, and then they're all maybe going to go to the put side. So that's not what we want. We want people to learn and make good decisions at this moment. 2 hour very oversold, very down on the MACD. Yes, the direction is down and you can crash. Doesn't mean I want to take a position, not for myself, not for my strategies. No, if anything, this says, hey, we have the potential to bounce from this level. But I'm taking it into consideration, saying this is awful. If that curls up, that would be nice. Intel's very, Intel's not even a fun chart to look at. I'm just going to be totally honest. Intel is just dropping after the earnings, and you're not really seeing any reversal signals. I think the only thing with Intel you can really take into consideration here was the daily chart, just seeing if that could ever turn back up. But for the most part, it just looks like garbage. It looks like awful, and there's no reversal signals. You kind of just flag out, no buyers in this just yet. So if you just keep doing this and falling this and falling this and falling, you'll pay attention for divergence, right? You need that to see a positive trend in order to go up. And that's a big, big deal here. Now that could just V-shape, right? That could V-shape, this could just go. I'd be looking at 2 hour chart, but for the most part, this is an awful look. I'm not paying attention to Intel at all with that kind of look. How far out expirations do you do? Anywhere from 2 weeks to 2 months out. So for the plays that I do have, I think I chose the end of August. So I have the end of August for these things to start to play out to the upside. So all NVIDIA has to do is right now, we can see maybe it's by that monthly expected move. Well, that means the other monthly expected move is going to be where? It's going to be way up here, right? I can even probably look at those real quick. Oh, I don't have them up right now, but I'll pull them up later, but we'll talk about them maybe tomorrow. But if this is able to just curl up, that could head in time up towards that monthly expected move, and this would actually be a great trade for me, right? Because I have the end of August. So we'll see if that happens. Even if this went like that, I might be able to take profit or break even or maybe make some money out of this and then just be done and then see if that gets me a swing trade to the downside. Tesla and NVIDIA. And these are ones that I'm looking for if they're trying to go positive, right? I'm looking for if they're trying to go positive, create those higher lows. That's what we really want to see here. So that might happen to me at the end of today. I might end up scaling in with a few more contracts just to make that price a little bit better. So if we do see a big move, I have the chance to make profit actually in some of those trades. PLTR, can't really say what to do here. I can tell you there is some divergence across the way, and you're starting to set up a higher low. So if this earnings is good, you have the momentum dead enough and you're close enough to positive territory to see a big move. But you also know that the environment we're in is very down right now, so you have just as much probability to go down. AKA, this is the perfect example. You're right by the center line. If that curls down, bad things. Earnings, that is a 50-50 flip, and the chart's telling you that on the 30-minute pretty much right now. You wouldn't want to wait until your expiration date because of theta. No, I'm not going to wait till my expiration date. No. I most likely will see an upward move, see that go positive, and sell it to someone else. I think it could. I think Hussein, I think you're fine to think that. I think that's a reasonable thought there. But yeah, I'm not going to be holding this all the way into expiration. I'm looking for a solid, let's see, let's go back over to NVIDIA for a second. I'll show you what I'm kind of looking for here. So I'm looking for this 2 hour to pop, maybe for like a week or so, week and a half into next week, maybe early next week. We see kind of some kind of build up move, and then next week we go hit a weekly expected move or something like that, and then I sell in this zone. That's what I'm kind of looking for, some kind of move up towards 120. J-Dubs, are we going to bounce? I think we bounce tomorrow. Yeah, it looks like we could have some of those signals. I really think this is a fake crash, and I said that a few days ago. I made a video saying this is a fake crash. I think it is, but I've said that it's a fake crash before, right? We've said fake crashes happen before, maybe right down in here. And in that area, what did people say? Well, they said, hey, this looks awful, this looks terrible. But yeah, all we're doing is we know that this looks awful. We're just aware if that curls up, it has potential. Now we're aware of the same thing over in this area, noting that it is deeper in negative territory. We're in the same thing, same kind of boat. If this turns up, we would go, oh, okay, this is looking good, let me react. But right now we're just thinking this is very bad. As of right now, we're in correction territory. Well, in this case, so the reason that I took smaller positions was because I did see volatility going towards higher levels than it's seen in a little while. So the reason that I'm creating a lower position size for these calls, and the reason you're not hearing me freak out about anything, losing $20,000 or something like that, is because I knew going into this that volatility was higher and we easily could drop over the weekend. I mentioned it 20 different times. So in my position sizing alone, I mitigated my risk, because I knew there was potential for something like that to happen. I mitigate my risk, right, by not buying a huge position. Only about $1,000 position between even the two trades is all I took, because I'm not trying to make $1 million. I'm like, hey, $1,000 from a pop would be nice, and then I can see what happens here to see if I want to continue to hold those positions, roll out those positions. If that turns over, maybe I take an opposite position. I can do plenty of things, and if I lose everything, what am I losing? $1,000. That's nothing. PLTR earnings today, 50-50 flip, man. 50-50 flip. That's all I ever say about earnings. Yeah, exactly, Anna. We could have just gapped up, and guess what? You know I like to take profit in this environment. I could have held my volatility and made a ton of money in this move, but I still made money in the move. I made like 400% on volatility last week. What do I think about Iran? I think that we're seeing things scale up. We're seeing dramatic things scale up. All right, and that's all we need to understand. As the market starts to go high and starts to keep reaching for tops, right, possible tops, you're going to see more things in society do the same thing. We're going to see housing stuff start to fail. We're going to see geopolitical stuff start to scale up. We're going to see even the Olympic stuff start to scale up, how people react to that. You're going to see that towards the top. That's what always happens. And then you'll always, at the very, very top though, usually you see this kind of contentness. People are satisfied, right? We do this, people are satisfied, and then boom, that falls through the floor. So that's what I think we're looking for here. Is this is the initial scare. This tells you that those problems are real, that people are worried about them, and you can see dramatic selling. But if that just turns around, you have a simple swing trade, and then you end up going higher, everyone gets complacent, and then that's when they actually pull the rug. So earnings is going to be a big deal for NVIDIA. And it'll be kind of a dictator of which way NVIDIA goes. Do they want the market to go higher, or are they ready for it to drop? That's kind of how I see it, because we are playing a rigged game. But if we pay attention to the signals and be smart about it, we can play the rigged game correctly. Oop, I touched a button. So really just looking 15-minute charts here, starting to roll. We'll see if these things are able to curl up. You can see, first of all, with Tesla, we do have one minor rejection here. With NVIDIA, we do have one minor rejection. We got to see if that flings us up into positive territory. The evil they, Potato and Viper. The evil they. Yes, they. Those who control these little red and green bars. But I think they were taken a little bit surprised by this. I think they were. I think they were a little bit taken surprised by this. And we know that they were. Actually, we know that they were a little bit because the Qs started out outside of this, because the SPY started out outside of this. I think they were a little surprised and they immediately tried to get it back into that zone. Now you're starting to break down again, very controlled. This could be where you just reject and end up starting going higher. So for tomorrow, I'll still be leaning in the favor of my trades as of right now. SPY looks ugly. It definitely does. And the main signals we want to pay attention to on the macro scale is going to be that monthly curling over. That monthly curls over, you're probably looking at extremely low prices very soon. So do they want that to happen right now? I don't know necessarily. I'm just trying to figure that out in real time. Yeah, and the best part about GME, not only hitting a monthly, hitting a weekly, right? Hitting a weekly and just rebounding from that area. So rebounding about almost it's getting towards about 2 to 3 points now. Very, very cool. AMC was more a test of that 437 area. Would you scale into NVIDIA? I'm waiting to see what happens by end of day. I'm waiting to see if we're going to reject here, get some kind of strong move at the end of the day. That might convince me to scale in a little bit. But for the position size itself, based on the risk of what's going on in the environment, part of me is saying, be a diligent trader, be a good trader, wait for those dailies to swing up. The easier trade is to just wait for the daily to scale up and do the swing trade. That is going to be the easier trade. The harder trade is trying to scale in and then you're wrong and you lose more money than you could. So right now I'm more so thinking, why don't I just mitigate my risk by holding on to that? I knew my risk, that's why I have a small position size. And then if I start to see things like a daily cross above that 9-day moving average, right? Curl up on this MACD, I can just say, okay, let me do this, the simple swing trade. That's more how I'm looking at it. I'm not necessarily looking at making losing positions better. I'm looking for a whole new trade is kind of what I'm thinking in my head right now. But if the time came and everything looked right, I would use a couple of contracts as those are a little bit cheaper now. September expiration. And it's nice to have more time. You'll probably notice that most of those options, as long as you didn't go extremely out of the money or something like that, most of those should be holding up better than most. Better than most, right? A lot of trades today, I can guarantee you that people took on NVIDIA for, say, this week because they didn't take an extra expiration out. Those are probably down a heavy, heavy amount, like 90%. Yeah, and what we could look for here is a lot of the time you will see that reaction up. What we might want to do is see if this reaction up is to test that 5-day moving average, right? And something like this. And I do have other people that I pay attention to who have the same kind of thinking as me, and I really do like their opinion. I've vetted a lot of YouTubers, and some of them are saying this seems like an overreaction, and the ones that I truly trust are saying that. The ones that I don't trust are all calling a crash today. They're all calling more crash to another 20% down. And I'm just like, well, there's going to be rips. And I don't want to tell someone it's going to crash and then boom, and then I'm just completely wrong. And that can happen in this environment. I'm not, unaware of that. I'm just going to be aware of, hey, we could see a reaction up like this as we are in a channel before that next drop comes. I'm also aware if we break out of that channel, we might have that swing trade there for you, which in the past, that's been very good for NVIDIA. So we'll look at the 15-minute here, see if that's able to cross up, go positive. Wonder how much a contract is anyway. Yeah, and I haven't lost an extreme amount of value in these contracts, so my physical still, M7's back telling me that silver. How's silver doing? How's silver doing? We started accumulating gold for the most part, but silver stack looking a little low. Thought about going out and buying some, but for the most part, silver, even silver, look at this. Look at silver actually in M7. Let's look at this from a technical side. Look at this 2-hour divergence. If that thing crosses up, this could be a powerful move. I wonder if this is just a daily pullback for the most part. Ooh, we're negative, so it's a little bit worse, but you are above that 200. So if this is able to cross up, that would be a good sign, and you're actually seeing that signal form itself right here. Now you have to see if that's actually able to cross. I like to wait for confirmation, especially when volatility is higher. I just wait for that confirmation because I know that that move will be big as volatility is higher. So I'll see if this curls up and then see some positivity. I know, M7. I know you're always talking physical. Are GME and AMC pumping now? Well, actually AMC is doing something good, getting back up to the breakdown area. So that's something to pay attention to. We talked about how the dollar could be people buying into AMC. We'll see if that's able to curl up. That would be a positive sign here for AMC. AMC looks a little bit better off on the 2-hour and the daily scale than GME right now. It's still positive, right? GME breaking down, going negative. So you really need to see that reaction. The only benefit that's better for GME than AMC is it's above its 200. Big Daddy Flush. All right, let's just sit on the spot. Actually, let's sit over on the Qs for a little bit. Let's see, because I like this look. I want to see if that's able to confirm that as a lower high or a higher low, as it's trying to on the 15-minute. I just want to see if that really shows us some strength, maybe gets back in those daily expected moves. VIX slowly climbing. What we need to pay attention to is the 30-minute chart. 15-minute crossed up, it's negative. So what we need is that 30-minute chart here. If that starts to scale up, you can see lower prices tomorrow and you are outside of a weekly expected move. So this is where the position size is what's important. Because yes, the fear is there, right? The saying of buy when everyone's fearful. Okay, awesome. I've done that. But at the same time, I want to use an amount of money in case the fear is justified and this volatility turns up again and we see something crazy to the downside. So I'll be paying attention to a little bit of both. But for the most part, I'm using the position sizing to mitigate that risk. That's what I did on Friday. But for the Qs, I think it's more of a, is the 30-minute going to cross back down? I think it's more, are we going to confirm this kind of as a higher low by kind of beating this high? That would be an interesting move by the end of the day. We'll see what happens. We got about 20 minutes left. Tesla before the end of the year? Well, it depends, right? It depends a lot on, if we're going to actually see a crash before the year end. As of right now, you're getting a closing below the 200. That is a very bad sign. So if we want to see positivity here, it's got to do it pretty quick. Because if you start closing again and again, moving sideways below that 200, ooh, you could just be consolidating to make that next big move down. So what I'd be really paying attention to is if we can take back that 200, take back all these moving averages, most likely they'll get really close and tight in here, see if that's able to be taken back. That would be a big deal for Tesla. You can maybe make a move all the way up towards 300 by the end of the year. right? You can make a move up towards 300. Now, if we do something like this and we see weakness, that could fail. If we do something like this and we see weakness, that could fail, and that might only lead into, something like September. So I'm going to be paying attention to that. We also could just fail right now as we're closing below the 200. So that's where I know my risk. I'm willing to lose that amount of money now. I like it, Diana. I think that's a very good thing. I think that's very, very cool for you to do, is overall just be like, hey, today I'm not seeing the setups. I'm not seeing it. It looks like a risky day in the market. Maybe I wait for some more price action tomorrow, see if some 2 hours can curl up. Then I have a trade set up. See if we maybe curl up on that 2 hour and curl down. Then I have a trade set up to the downside. Right now, I'm just saying there's no real trade setup here. So I'm not going to take much more than I already have. If this is able to fully go positive, I might make that play as we go above this high. What a day. Chugging some water. AMD already confirming, by the way. AMD already confirming a reversal signal, just so you are aware. AMD is one that has confirmed the reversal signal. Now, you could still have more work to be done here. If you wanted to, this 30-minute can just curl down. So 30-minute curls down, you guys know, bullish and bearish case. Bearish case, 30-minute curls down, we continue the negative trend. The very bearish thing would be we don't make another point of divergence. We do not make any kind of low here that curls back up. You just fall, right? That would be the really bearish case. The bullish case is kind of playing out right now, saying, hey, I have divergence with a little bit more of a new narrative, some kind of good news. I can see an upside play. I can curl up my daily MACD that's been going down for a very long time. That is what is being stated here. So if AMD is doing that, NVIDIA might be right behind it, right? NVIDIA might be right behind it on confirming some 2-hour signals that look pretty good at these levels. So we'll see if that's able to happen. In order for that to happen, though, the 15-minute here needs to go positive, and that is not happening, right? So this is where we are aware of the reversals, but none of them are showing up really at this moment. Except for AMD, I guess. But thank you guys so much for joining me on this closing stream. We got about 15 minutes left. Let's look what happens towards the last 15 minutes, paying attention to the Qs as they were able to fight back into that weekly expected move. Maybe the Qs will show some hidden strength here. Is Warren Buffett going to buy it all again? He might. He just went real liquid. Oh, I think it's already a 15-minute chart. It's definitely lost the momentum. You can't say it hasn't. That's why I'm not adding to the position. People ask if I'm scaling in. No, not yet. I gotta wait. I gotta make sure that this is going to bounce. Hey, I'm down, Banana Sam. You can take that course anytime you want. Obey Gaming 92. If you were born in 92, so was I. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. Kit was a bad one. Well, actually, it's the end of the day. Bring it up tomorrow. We'll look at Kit tomorrow. Actually, we can look at it real quick because I got a little bit of time here. Yeah, and we're seeing a lot of signals here that just don't have any type of reversal in it on the 30-minute. Now, when you spread that out, you're probably going to see on a daily scale some stuff, right? We can see it trying to go positive multiple times, and it just keeps failing. So this one not looking the best. I can understand your sentiment towards it. Hey, Tywin, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for subscribing. Appreciate you being here today. Please leave a like if you're enjoying the closing streams. We're going to try to keep doing more and more of these. Yeah, and as of right now, utility is really backing off. So that's where we could see maybe that risk-on sentiment. Yeah, Loxley, I think we've had it's pretty fun. I actually really enjoy markets like this. I really enjoy markets like this. And Roma, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you on a dump coming. I just think they might need to bait people into thinking that there is potential upside first. And that would maybe mean one more move up like this, and then that 2 hour crosses up, and then we start to flush. That's what I would overall think from here. For the most part, what we want to pay attention to is, well, the put levels are still very, very high. And that's probably going to remain for a little bit as we remain at lower levels, as we're trying to make some kind of base, if we're even going to make that base fully, right? If bad enough news comes out, you just cross over right here and it's all done. So that's why I'm being very careful on adding any money to positions. I'm more so waiting for things to really start to confirm upward, one of those being NVIDIA. Baby crash, just a warning. Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm saying that this is the moment when you close your bathroom mirror and you're like, oh, something's behind me, and nothing's there. And then you reach down, right? You reach down and you go to wipe your face. You think everything's jolly, and then you look back in the mirror after wiping your face off with a towel and you see the monster. That could be in play here, but I'm just arguing as well that that could be extending for some time. Right, so it's like, is that going to happen right away, or is that going to extend for quite some time to really bait people into thinking they're safe? Familiar with crude, gas, and diesel futures? Yo, swing trading with like gas and things like that with oil is very, very good. I think you'll like it a lot. Exactly, so that's the only thing throwing everything for a loop. If you start to see those things calm down, I don't know if they're going to calm down, but Iran and things like that, that is what can really keep this momentum going, in my opinion. I don't think the recession scares are really going to continue that momentum, especially with the data we got this morning. The data we got this morning is still showing a higher PMI, which is actually a little bit more towards, hey, we should see a bounce from these yields. Oh, okay, gotcha. Oil and those other ones are fun to trade. I mean, Bitcoin can be a little tough sometimes, but if you zoom out on Bitcoin, do a monthly, weekly, daily chart, pay attention to momentum. Monthly, very great for swing trading, and then weekly and daily, I would say very great for divergences and things like that. If you're doing really well, Loxley, on the just regular trading side of things, I would keep to it, because a lot of the time people start to do options and then things start to go downhill. But keep your thing going. If you're doing well, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing fine. All right, let's see. We got 10 minutes left. The last 10 minutes here. Let's see what happens. And the big thing is volatility. Is that going to curl up on the 30-minute? Ooh, it really, really looks like it, doesn't it? It makes you want to go, ooh, this is going to happen. And then you see the Qs, the SPY, you see those things start to roll down. You're like, are these actually going to roll down outside of the weekly move? That's going to be huge if it does. Because once you're out of that weekly move, you can see some crazy things. Great evening. Thoughts on Sava? Oh yeah, someone did ask about this a little bit ago, so let's look at that. Starting to break down. I mean, that's a 15-minute chart. We'd like to zoom out on things. I would just say this is a great move. This is a fantastic move. That 2 hour hasn't curled down yet, but eventually it will. Eventually it will. Unless this thing just keeps going, never crosses over, hey, that's cool and all. Maybe it has some kind of squeeze potential in it. But the 30-minute here, if that does curl down, you want to kind of treat it like this moment over here. If it goes sideways or curls down, gets close to that center line in any way and curls back up, hey, another positive move. What do you notice right here? We curled up, positive territory, boom, and then positive move. So we might want to see another moment like that. But that might take you around earnings. SPY's already below it, yes. So we're seeing how that's going to form by the end of the day. And what that would tell us going into tomorrow is either something really bad is going to happen, or we could see this thing buy up so it's back within the expected area so that nothing bad can happen. That's something market makers can do. They can force this ETF to go higher. That way it's back and expected, and those algorithms won't kick in to sell this thing off. You start breaking this low, those algorithms could kick in, and you could see that flush harder than you see right now. That's why I'm like, mitigate your risk as much as possible throughout this week. Yeah, it does, Jagger, doesn't it? Who makes weapons? Nikki Haley's husband. No. Thoughts on the VIX? If that 30-minute curls up, it's not good, right? 30-minute curls up. So what you want to say is like two things at the same time. 15-minute already curled up, so this pullback makes sense. But is this doing this? Is it doing this again, right? Not necessarily. Now it's kind of trailing. So, so if that 15-minute can just cross down, that's more your signal that you're paying attention to at that level. GIS? Is that General Mills? 2 hour? Yeah, I'll give it to you. I think that one there really holds pretty flat. And that one is holding pretty well there. Now this one here, not necessarily coming above too much, but I would more so look at this too and just be like, the daily, how high has that gone up on the daily? Yeah, it's gone pretty high up without seeing some kind of pullback. Now, that could just be a brief one. That could be, this is a very positive move above the 200. Maybe you want to go retest those levels and see if you can turn back around. But for the most part, 2 hour divergences like this can roll over daily charts, but you're still a little bit far away from the center line. So you do have the potential to just do something like this for a bit and then curl right back up. So what I'd be paying attention to is if the 2 hour doesn't make that swing trade, if you have that, like maybe you're taking a position based on the 2 hour divergence, awesome. You just want to see, does that curl over that daily and do you see that extended pullback? Because if not, you could just pull back on the 2 hour, curl up by that center line, right? Something like this could start to form. That's what I'd be paying attention to. I think we have potential to see a squeeze, and that's just because of the PCC. I think we have potential to see a squeeze pretty much any day. If this 2 hour can cross over, that would be a solid signal for that. Oh my gosh, KRE is seeing the higher highs. Well, that might be the relief. That's kind of the, oh no, it's not. That thing is seeing lows right there. Carry dropping off pretty dramatically there with your 2 hour divergence set up right here. So this was the play right here, 58.32 area. And then you see that fall down over time, never able to curl back up. So at this moment, you would say, hey, this is still a 2 hour. It's above the 200. If that crosses up, hey, you can see a big move. If that goes positive, we can see a decent move here. Doing good, Legini. How are you? Dollar still dropped off to lower levels. We'll pay attention if, like, say tomorrow we see a bounce and that dollar bounces as well. We're gonna be paying close attention to that if this is some kind of rip, because this could be, hey, yeah, they're convincing you that, you know, stocks are going up, but actually the insiders are starting to buy or starting to sell into that upside. What did I have for lunch today? What did I have for lunch today? I ate a late lunch. So I ate a late breakfast, actually. That's what it was. I ate like a late breakfast. So I had hash browns and 3 eggs. So no good lunch for me today. But that's okay. I'm sure Mama's gonna make some good stuff for dinner. I really thought these yields would see more of a reaction here. See, that 2 hour doesn't want to confirm down. Maybe it needs to make a divergence. This is where more downside could be there. If you go up like this, boom, now everyone's convinced this is crashing, and then you make a reversal signal. That's something to pay attention to as well. All right, let's really focus on the SPY. We're in the last 5 minutes. Actually, let's focus on the Qs for a moment here. We're in the last 5 minutes. I just want to see if anything happens towards the end of the day. As of right now, it's rejecting the further downside for now. We'll see how this opens up in the morning. We have a Palantir earnings afterwards, but I'm going to have to take off right around 3 o'clock. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's stream, but we're going to watch this for the last 5 minutes here, and then I'm going to have to take off for a bit. And tonight I won't have time to make a YouTube video, but tomorrow we'll pretty much have the full setup. We'll have a morning stream, a night stream, and a YouTube video. Once we get more price action, I think we can figure out what's happening here. What does HIMS do? Actually, no. Let's really watch the cues. I'm not going to let my ADHD take over. So tomorrow we'll have like a full day. You guys will get a ton of content tomorrow. We'll get to hang out a lot tomorrow. Make sure you got those notifications on. Make sure you're subscribed. I accidentally put the name COVID in my title for my live video this morning and might have got demonetized. Let's see. Knock. I'm seeing this one. This guy here. Apparently they make some weapons and supplies. All right, 2.5 minutes left. Let's see what's gonna happen. See if the PCC ticks up at the end of the day here too. I'm interested in where all of this ends on the CPC as well. It looks like a few companies you can pay attention to. TDG ticker, NOC ticker, LHX ticker. My XLU short doing nicely. That's what's up, William. Good job. Was fun at the open, market got boring. Yeah, that happens a lot. That happens a lot after a big move. If like they're just trying to build liquidity for a day before the next big move, and then they build liquidity all day, and then the next big move. Happens a lot of the time. Let me go look at something. Since it is the end of the day, I got like 1.5 minutes left. What I'm gonna do here is probably scale into like 2 more contracts. That might be the move. Yeah, I think 2 more contracts is very viable, and I still wouldn't lose too much. That would really hurt me. I think that's good. What has risen lots? NOC. NOC apparently is up like 30% from its July level. Beginning of July. Yeah, I'm just gonna mainly wait for tomorrow, see what happens. But yeah, I don't think I'll add anything actually. Let's just keep it chill. That way my risk is very, very low. Now I'm thinking I should have not. Well, Tina, there are some stuff going on here. You're seeing the SPY trying to get back into that weekly range. Right now, your risk is, you know, from a weekly perspective, if you just delete out all of the news, all of the headlines, everyone's comments and everything, you just look at your charts in front of you with no noise, you would say, hey, 68% chance to land right here by the end of the week. So I don't think that you're making a bad decision by any means. I would just more so say, hey, if this starts to curl down, then we know something a little bit more dramatic's happening. 8 seconds left for the SPY. Is that going to be able to do it? 3, 2, 1. And it closed. Oh, wait. Okay, hold on. Let's see where that closed. Closed at the 517.46. Oh my gosh, it closed directly on the weekly expected move. Oh my gosh, Dina, look at this. It closed directly on that weekly expected move. 517. Oh, well, I guess 517.51 and then 517.46. So just outside of it. I don't know the biggest rise in those stocks this week, no. That's pretty sick that it lands within like 4 cents of that weekly expected move. Q's actually landing inside of it, so that's a big deal. Now you want to go look maybe at like Palantir or something like that, see what happens with this, with that earnings coming out. So we'll pay attention to these things, guys. I wish I could put a video out for tonight. Unfortunately, I'm running out of time for the day with baby girl having her doctor's appointment. It kind of threw us for a loop here. But tomorrow, we're going to have a full day of content. We're going to do some streaming in the morning. We're going to do some streaming in the afternoon. We might even pop onto Patreon towards lunch to give you guys a little bit of an update if things are setting up. And then we will be giving you that YouTube video at night. All right, so thank you guys so much for joining today. I'm sorry I got to hop off real quickly here, but thank you guys for joining. I hope that I hope everyone's staying safe out there, mitigating your risk, making sure to watch your watch your position sizes in an environment like this, and then once things start to confirm, once you actually see those signals confirming, that's when you can actually pull the trigger with some confidence. That's what I would give you as some kind of advice as someone who's traded a lot. Something that I like to do in an environment like this, volatility really high, make that position size smaller, and then what I like to do is once I see confirmations on bigger time frames, then I can add in. So hopefully you guys had a good day today, and I hope that we all have a good day tomorrow, and I look forward to seeing you there. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.